Well, hello and welcome to yet another chapter of World's Longest Suicide Note. Um, my name's Roger, and even though I am suicidal at times, I'm still here. Yay! Um, yeah, but I, even though that is something that I am from time to time, I am not any kind of professional as it comes to mental health, mental illness, um, all of the above. So I'm just offering some perspective and trying to get through this life like everyone else. So anyway, we're just gonna continue to paint. I'm gonna talk. We're gonna have a chat, and most of what I'm going to talk about today stems from uh, a therapy session that I just had actually earlier today. Yeah, so therapy is awesome, and I encourage it, but it also comes with a price. Because you got to do the work, you have to, put effort into it. You have to, yeah, you have to take it serious uh, to a great degree, and it always opens up like issues that maybe you didn't think about. So, or maybe it highlights a thought process that may be flawed and that you just really haven't put a lot of energy into trying to determine. So I just wanted to. We'll talk about my therapy appointment a little bit, and if you get anything out of that, then awesome. I'm using it kind of as a processing tool because um, after every session, I got to process some things. Kind of open up, and you gotta process it. You gotta make sure that it's how you're feeling is how you should be feeling about it, and if not, why not? What's going on? What's the issue, so to speak? So anyway, I'm going through cognitive processing therapy with my therapist, and this is in regards to my PTSD and my son Josh. And if you're unaware, if you haven't watched all the videos, I have PTSD. I have an severely autistic son, Josh, who for years would uh, be so frustrated by his autism that he would get very aggressive. And he's a big dude. He's like 6'2", weighs 340 pounds or something, and he's strong. So it was a significant challenge, and there was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears over the years that caused me to have PTSD and need therapy years down the road. So that's why, and so I haven't seen my son in a while, and that I want to see him, and I need to get better so I could see him, and that's why I'm going to therapy, so I could. And the apparently this cognitive processing therapy has done well with PTSD, and I understand. Um, but we did this an exercise, and there's homework, and so I'm doing homework, and learning throughout the process of what's going on. And one of the things that I could tell you that I learned over this last week's therapy is that my thought process is flawed, when it comes to me. In this issue, I have absolutely made myself I'm not the victim, I'm the perpetrator. And I'm the aggressor, I'm the person who was at fault. So my thought process has been over time has changed. So and so if anyone else were to, if I was to be sitting down, say, for a cup of coffee with somebody, and they were having a hard time with this situation, and they were telling me things about it, I would be the first person to say, no, you're wrong. I mean, this was not your fault, and something bad happened, but that was not something that you wanted to have happen, but and again, for further clarification, there was a time when I was being attacked by my son. There was many times I was attacked by my son, and one time I struck him, and the look on his face was, I remember it. I can see it right now, and the guilt and the shame from that is really one of the things I'm dealing with. But in this whole story, I have learned that I have made myself the villain of the story, because the fact that Josh is disabled, that it's my job to care for him, that all these things, I tell myself, basically there's no benefit for me in this whole process, because I see myself as the villain of it. And working through that. But one of the things that this exercise has shown to me is how hard I am on myself, how I don't cut myself any amount of slack for anything, and that so my version of events has shifted. I've shifted that from a reaction during a stressful time to where I'm almost the instigator of the situation. And that was never ever a true statement, but it's just amazing how you're thinking about your version of the story shifts over time. And what I told my therapist is that it's like, if you've ever been in like, say, a marketing or a networking meeting, and they want to do an experiment or an exercise, so to speak. Basically, you have a room full of people arranged in a circle, square, whatever. The facilitator will go to the person on the one side, and he'll say something. The lazy fox jumps over that, whatever. Will make a statement, and then the next person has to get that information and then give it to the next person. And you go around the room saying the thing that the person just told you. Then the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog or whatever, and then you have to tell it to that next person. And the interesting thing that happens is, over time, the story changes, and it doesn't take long for the story to change. So over the course of 10 or 12 people, it could, at the end of it, you could have a totally different story than you started with. Well, and that's kind of been the same way about my thought process about what my side of the story is. I have changed some of the information, or have deleted some of the information, or whatever has happened to it, the story has shifted from this is something that happened to me that I'm almost to blame for this and should feel guilt and shame forever for what had happened. And if I were to be talking to anyone else other than myself about this, I would demand that they cut themselves slack. I would say what you expect is not realistic in the slightest. And you know what happened was not your fault, and it's not something you wanted. It was regrettable, but understand that you need to cut yourself some slack. Well, I can see that, but I mean it's really hard for me to do. And not only that is so over the time, my side, and like I told my therapist, I mean eventually this is all going to be my fault, and in my mind, I am the reason for every bad thing that has ever happened. Yeah. So really, at the end of the day, I'm going through this, and I'm learning that a lot of the things that I hold myself in contempt for, I shouldn't be holding myself in contempt for. But first, I need to understand: is it real? Do I really have a complaint to be made against how I handled the situation? Is it, how do I define it? How do I? Because the one thing, I am not cutting myself. If anything, I'm holding myself to an impossible standard. And one time out of 1,000, something bad happened that that was under my control, and I need to be able to deal with that in a way that doesn't make me the aggressor, or excuse. Over time, your mental access to what happened changes. So the way you think and feel about that change, which is, I mean, it's kind of scary in a way, because trying to, and that's why I think, and I wasn't doing this at the time. I do it more now. I think journaling and writing things down on a daily basis, I think, is a good thing, because what that will do is it'll offer the access to how you were feeling at the time. I really wish now that I would have journaled something, wrote something down, kept on the back of a napkin or a receipt, something says, on this day this happened and this is how I felt about it. And I would never think I would need to do that, but even something that's as profound as a memory as this, you realize that it changes. It changes over time. It changed, since Josh has moved out, things have changed. And then since I haven't been able to see him, things have changed. And it's not changed for my benefit, it's changed for the benefit of Josh in my mind. So I have become more and more guilty of wrongdoing as time has gone on. And I'm seeing that, and one of the questions is it fair to yourself what you're doing, and the perspective that you have about my role in the situation. And so that's a valid question, because it's not something that I could answer readily. So I think at the end of the day, I share this with you for a couple of reasons. One is that as an example of, how you need to go to therapy, and you need to constantly be dealing with the situations, you know. But I think the biggest reason that I talk about that I wanted to have this conversation is that what are the things in your mind that you're holding out there? What ideas, what constructs have you created about yourself that aren't accurate, that don't accurately describe who you are, or who you were at the time this happened, and your thoughts about that. Because what I've learned is I'm a bad source for information. I am fake news for myself. I am changing the narrative, and I have been changing the narrative over time. And that narrative doesn't serve me. It's not accurate. So I've been kind of going by skewed information for a period of time. And that isn't, from what I've been told, that isn't uncommon. It's very common for people to do. You know, you change the story to match your narrative of that story, and if your narrative changes, then your story will change. And when you change the story, you change the facts, you change everything about it. You change how you think and feel about yourself. So, is it justified feeling the way you do about yourself, especially if the information is not accurate? So, yeah, before you feel a way, any particular, I'm a loser, I'm worthless, I'm blah blah blah, make sure that the evidence is actually there for that. Because what I'm finding, this week especially, is that the evidence isn't there for it, that for to justify how I feel about myself, or especially in this one regard. So I need to be vigilant, more vigilant, and more aware of my tendency to devalue myself and my thoughts and feelings in favor of somebody else. I'm a people pleaser by nature, and by training. I've trained myself, and I think in the next, because I have to do an exercise for next week about the people pleasing side of it, of my personality, and how that, to understand how that may play a significant role in my thoughts and feelings regarding this situation. So, yay! Going to be opening up some more doors and closets, and so, but that's how we move forward. So anyway, I think that's basically it for now. Is that it? Yes, I think that's it. I think I should shut up. Okay, well, let's shut up. Anyway, have a great day. Keep fighting, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care.